Do you remember what you were taught about periods and the menstrual cycle at school? Because I do, and it was freaking terrible. We just got shown these 4 diagrams of the uterus and what happened to the uterus at each of these stages during the month. Literally nothing else. It was so basic, it was so unhelpful. There was nothing about the emotional side, the hormonal side, the fact that this is a huge indicator of how you will feel and act on any given day if you have a cycle. I remember at primary school, there was a kid in my class called Dominic, and he once told me that every month his mom and his sister bled for like 4 days and it really, really hurt them. And I was just looking at him telling this story being like, what? And I think I cried. And then he was like, yeah, and it happens to your mom too. And I was like, oh no. But that was all we knew, all we were taught about this thing that happened. 4 diagrams and stories in the playground, and it's so ridiculous. It wasn't until about 4 years ago that that was still the extent of my knowledge. And it wasn't until I went for a walk with a friend in Lisbon called Eleanor, and she told me that actually there's so much more to periods and there's so much more to your menstrual cycle than just uterus and the bit where you actually are on your period. And I want to share this with you because before I realized this, I was on the normal 28 approximately day cycle that everyone else is, not realizing that every emotion, every up day and down day, it was all just repeatable and predictable. And when I went for that walk with Eleanor, when she told me all about what is actually happening on each different day, I learned how to organize my life, my schedule, my business around my cycle. And it's honestly amazing. It's changed my life so much that this is the video I wish I'd had at school. And I would love this to be taught to people in schools. I would love for young girls to know what is actually going on with their body beyond textbooks that were probably just written by people who just don't even understand this. There can be such a disconnect between how your body is actually working and what it's actually doing on different days and what you are doing on different days, so what your schedule is looking like. But actually there's just a far better way of doing it. So what you might not realize, and what I definitely didn't realize, is that everything in your life as a woman is all around fertility. Even if you don't want to get pregnant, your body is just trying to make it so that you stand the best chance of getting pregnant. That's like all your biology is telling you at any given time. So if you imagine the average cycle is 28 days, but there's a big range of normal, it might be a lot less, it might be a lot more, but you can only actually get pregnant for a couple of days of that entire cycle. So everything is geared up to maximize your chances of sperm and egg meeting and fertilizing at that given moment, at the moment you can get pregnant. So I'm going to break down these 4 main stages, what they mean, and also how you can essentially use what I've since discovered is called cycle hacking to mean that you plan your perfect schedule around your cycle and it works for you instead of against you. There is no need to be a victim of the stuff that's going on every single month. It just doesn't need to be that way. Also, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. I don't fully know all the science, but this is what works for me. So definitely check it out, Google it, have a look at exactly what the science behind everything here is and like the chemicals and everything I mentioned, but this is like the practical side of using cycle hacking in business and life. Phase 1 is the menstrual phase, and this is when you are actually bleeding, so you're actually on your period. And this might be when you're feeling introspective, feeling reflective, feeling intuitive. And so this is essentially your body being like, okay, it's going to be this month. Let's prepare to get pregnant. And it's kind of getting ready. It's almost like bedding down, gearing up for this big moment, which is your fertility. Even if you don't want to get pregnant, this is just how your body is working and how your hormones are working accordingly. So this is a time where you might realize you're really good at solo deep work. This might be a time when actually you don't want to see anyone and you do want to cancel some meetings. Overall, I find it's a time to give myself grace, to let myself off the hook for not wanting to do as much as I normally want to do. And this might last anywhere between like 1 to 5 days, and all of that's totally normal. Next phase is called the follicular phase, and this is roughly days 6 to 14. And this is where, from a biology point of view, your body's like, okay, we're gearing up, we're going to find a mate, we're going to find someone who can get us pregnant, we're going to start making babies. And this is where you feel your energy rising, you feel you've got more creativity, and you're feeling really optimistic and outgoing and confident, and you're like, oh, this could be the one, this could be the time, this could be the month. And as soon as I started tuning into cycle hacking, I really did feel that this was happening between days 6 6 to 14. So for me, I find this is a really good time for social events, for booking things in my calendar, maybe for brainstorming, co-working and starting new projects, booking in like workshops and networking and pitches and creating content, that kind of stuff. Like you're starting to kind of want to be out in the world that little bit more. So this is the follicular phase. Phase 3 is ovulation. So if you imagine your 4 stages are kind of like the seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter. This is summer. This is full on summer. This is like where you're the most attractive, you're the most confident, you feel amazing, your communication skills are really high, your body's holding less water, so you're more like, you're lighter, you're more toned, you're brighter, you're just, everything's amazing in ovulation. It's this magical summertime. And it's because biologically, this is when you can get pregnant. This is where your body's being like, okay, it's now, I've got to find this person now because I want to have a baby. So everything's geared up to that. But how you can use it is that you can cycle hack this time. Because you are so magnetic, so persuasive, so unstoppable right now, this is a time where if you show up online, I would be booking your podcasts, I would be recording your YouTube videos, I would be out there in the world on stage doing keynotes. You will probably be on stage feeling like you're the absolute queen of the world because this is your superpower window. And I find this so much every single month. So if I can, and it's not always possible, but this is when I would schedule my most important meetings. This is when I would schedule recordings that I had to do. This is when I would kind of book in those podcasts or those media appearances because I know that I'm going to show up just feeling so different than if I did show up in the middle of like day 1 or day 2. Ovulation is honestly a superpower when you use it for your business. So then if you imagine biologically, you've got ovulation, this is where you can get pregnant, and then after that, like you basically can't. So your body is realizing, okay, this egg that I made available for a sperm didn't reach a sperm, so therefore it's not happened this month. So after you ovulate, there's some kind of drop in some kind of happy hormone, which is where your body's like, it didn't happen, we've got to go again. And then what you enter into is phase 4, which is called your luteal phase. And so this is roughly days 18 to 28. And this is where you will probably feel, once you start tuning into it, you'll probably feel like your energy is kind of declining gradually. So in your early luteal phase, you're probably still quite productive, but you might be more detail orientated. And then in your kind of late luteal phase, this might be when you have potential mood swings and you get a bit more fatigue and you get a bit more irritable. So at school, we were literally just taught this is PMS. This is premenstrual syndrome or premenstrual tension. And it's like, that's all we were told, just these 3 letters and then left to get on with it. But there's so much more to it than that. And once you understand your cycle, you can cycle hack this and assign the right work to this phase. Because biologically, your body's like, okay, I didn't get pregnant, but now I can get pregnant next month. So it's almost like I'm kind of preparing, I'm coming to terms with it, and I'm also sort of getting ready for the next phase. So for me, I find that this is really a good time for detail work. It's a really good time for things like editing, organizing, stuff that doesn't really command you being out there in the world. It's more behind the scenes, but like you can just be an absolute machine with this time and with just doing stuff, doing the kind of busy work that you don't want to waste your ovulation phase on. And then after luteal phase, you get the menstrual cycle again. So it all begins again. And they are the 4 phases. So I did not realize that my day 10 in one cycle would be pretty much the same on a hormone level as my day 10 on another month, on another cycle. I just had no idea that this was the thing, but it's such a superpower when you track it. When I first discovered this, I downloaded some apps and I tried to kind of track it there and record everything, but you just don't need any of this fancy stuff. So what I would do if you want cycle hacking to change your life is get a piece of paper or get a Excel spreadsheet, and in the first column, just write days 1 to 28 or however long your cycle is. The day your period starts is day 1, and then you can track them all after that. And I literally would just write a couple of notes on how you're feeling on each day. And if you are feeling especially subdued or confident, or what kind of work you feel like you are naturally drawn towards at that time, what your energy levels are like, how you sleep, how your skin looks, how you feel, like just anything that you notice, just write it down. The main superpower I realized was that when different things were happening on the same days every single cycle, I could now just go, that's day 20. That's what happens on day 20. It's not like me. I'm not sad. I'm not angry. I'm not irritable. It's just that is the thing that my hormones are telling me to be right now. And it almost creates this separation. And then you feel way more in control of your life and your emotions and your hormones than just letting them happen to you without knowing what's happening every single cycle. So I'm not saying I organize everything around this. Like I wouldn't let people down. I wouldn't make wholesale changes to everything if I'd already got something booked in. But having an eye on it can mean that I roughly put the right kind of work and the right kind of activities in at each of the phases. And you totally don't need to even tell anyone else about this. It's actually no one's business what's going on in your body, but you will know. You will know that if you feel a bit more subdued, that's okay. I'm just in luteal phase. If you're feeling a bit more out there, that's okay. I'm just nearly about to ovulate. If you're feeling a bit like, I just want to shut the door and not talk to anyone, that's fine. Everything is fine. But as long as you just know that it's not about you. Nothing's wrong inside. You're not changing as a person. Your hormones are just telling you something different about how to act, all based on biology, and that is it. And then what you will probably find, which I found, is that every month is the same. It repeats. And there's such power in this, because then you can look at your calendar going forward and you can think, on this day, I'm going to be feeling this. What shall I do with this day? And it's such freedom. It's so amazing. I recommend that everyone does it. And then you get to this stage where you are just so naturally aligned with your body's natural rhythm that you can just show up as you, as the best you, every single day, and it's awesome. Is this news to you? Because it was so news to me about 4 years ago. Do you already do this? Have you got any more tips? Definitely share some tips in the comments below if you've known about this for a while, and if you have extra information that I haven't shared, that would be very welcome. This has been day 29 of posting every day on YouTube for 30 days. Hit subscribe to see all new videos when they come out, and I will catch you in the next one.